We good, Aaron? Yep. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. We're good? Perfect. Good morning, everybody. Glad to see y'all here today. I'm going to take a little time this morning, take our Sunday school hour, talk about the importance of Sunday school, and more importantly, the impact we have on the children we bring into this church. Start with something that I hope will get you thinking a little bit. How many of you, raise your hand, made the choice to be here this morning? Y'all chose to be here. We have several more classrooms of people who did not choose to be here this morning. That choice was made for them. And in several instances, people in this room made that choice for them to get them up, get them fed, get them dressed, and get them to church on Sunday morning. If you look at Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6 with me, give y'all a chance to turn there. The choice you make regarding those children. 22, verse 6. The choices you make in relation to those children that we have in those rooms there, that were brought here this morning, can have the greatest impact on their lives for the rest of their lives. Proverbs 22, verse 6 says, "Train up in the child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." I was looking up some statistics, and currently, adults who report that they were at church at least weekly as children, 38% of those continue to go to church regularly into adulthood. Just 38%. Of those who reported to never be in church as children, only about 10-11% of those go to church at all, if regularly. 38% does not seem like a vast percent of those children that we have showing up to church every week. But that is a huge difference from those who are not brought at all. They are introduced to the concepts. They are introduced to Jesus. They are brought here to experience what we have found to be spiritual truth. They are brought here, they see that in your lives, and 38% is still a decent percent of them see that and carry that with them into adulthood. So for those of you who brought your children here this morning, who brought other people's children here this morning, thank you for that. You have had an impact on each and every one of those children's lives. I looked at some other statistics, and this is one that's been floating around for years and has been repeated over and over. The divorce rate in our country. Most recently, it is sitting at 41%. And I found some variations in this statistic, but roughly around a quarter of children grow up in a single-parent household. In those households, who is supposed to train up that child? Those instances, you have a single parent who is having to carry the whole load of parenthood, and they are still expected to train up that child in the way that they should go. For those of you who don't know this about me, I come from a broken home. About the time I was a teenager, my parents split up, and from experience, I can tell you that just rips the foundation out of a child's life. And there are plenty of others who have experienced that and other different kinds of home situations. It is hard to get your feet on the ground and have a foundation under you when that part of childhood gets broken. But that's when you have the Lucy Bowles who step in. They step up and they say, here's a child that needs to meet Jesus. Here's a child that needs a spiritual life. They drive out of their way, pick them up, take them to the church. For me, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my life and introduce you through story of a couple of people that had that impact on me. Pamela and Michael McMillan. I was put into a Christian school for middle and high school, and one of the teachers there, his particular subjects were science and history, was Michael McMillan. Mr. McMillan to me, always Mr. McMillan. I can still quote Romans 1:20 if the stage fright up here doesn't get me. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. And I can still quote that because Mr. McMillan thought that was important. In history class, in science class, he always drove that verse home, and it's still in my head. Because he believed that you can look out at creation and see the hand of the Creator. And he wanted every child in his class to know that. Still in my head. When my parents split, that took away a lot of the foundation out of my life. It raises questions, it makes decisions hard, but we went to the same church as Pamela and Michael McMillan. We would have service in the morning that would last until 12:30. Then we would have evening service at 6 in the evening. And they would take me to their house after church. We would have lunch. Mr. McMillan would go nap on the couch or watch football. And I would sit and drink tea and play cards with Miss Pamela and whichever of their daughters decided to come visit that day. Then we would go back to church in the evening, and I would go back home. And that made all the difference in the world for me. And is a big reason that I am still in church too today. When I was questioning every decision that my parents made, when my mom was having a hard enough time keeping the house together, they took their time to train up a child in the way that he should go, and here I am today. So when you bring those children here, when, Brother Rick, they run up to you and they see you with a smile on their face, you're training up those children in the way that they should go. They find out that they are loved here and they can get spiritual truth here. I'm going to hop over quick to Matthew chapter number 18. We're going to read through verses 1 through 6 there. At the same time came the disciples unto Jesus, saying, Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus called a little child unto him, and set him in the midst of them, and said, Verily I say unto you, except ye be converted, and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this child, the same is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoso shall receive one such little child in my name, receiveth me. But whoso shall offend one of these little ones, which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. The children were important to Jesus. At another instance, when the children were brought to him and the disciples tried to turn them away, he rebuked his disciples and said, Bring me the children. The children were important to him. We speak of Jesus being the great physician who came to heal the sick. But speaking logically, is it better to heal the sick or prevent the illness? When they get in here, when they get set on the right path, when they are taught spiritual things from a young age that they can hang on to as they grow up, they have fewer missteps. They fall less. They deal with less and have to recover from less than if they were left to their own devices and have to be healed from those things later. We are blessed to be in a church where the biggest event of our year is Vacation Bible School. We have parents who bring children. We have parents who bring other people's children. We have children who bring their friends in here. to have a good time, to have fun, to feel loved, to feel a part of something, and most importantly, to hear God's word and get to know Jesus. We are blessed to be in a church like that and to have a pastor who considers that so important, who will put an emphasis on Sunday school and making sure that these children have a place to be and have a place to go, who opens up the church to release time so that we can have time to bring the kids from the school here to be in a place where they are loved and cared for. It matters. For those of you who give that to the children in your own home, I applaud you. You're doing great and tremendous work. And there are many children who do not get that at home. I spent a lot of time on bus routes growing up, working bus routes, helping bus routes. We went into the projects in fairly large cities. A lot of those children do not get love at home. A lot of those children are left to their own devices. A lot of them go hungry. We have things like Brookings Backpack Program to send kids home with food so that they don't go hungry over the weekend. That is reality. There are children who, they don't have a happy home life. They go home wondering if they're going to have anything to eat before they get back to school on Monday. But it's places like this where they can be taken in, they can be fed, they can be cared for, they can be shown love. And that's what we do when we bring them here. Flip over with me to Ephesians chapter 6. Speak a little bit about the training that they need to have. So, the reason I'm bringing all this up is we need to be mindful of our responsibility to these children. And we do a fantastic job in this church. But it's something we need to keep at the forefront of our mind. We come here for our own spiritual well-being. We come here to get spiritual truth for ourselves, to get the rejuvenation we need to get through the week, to fellowship with other believers. But for them, this is the foundation of their life. They are just now learning. They are just now being trained. Those bus kids that we brought in, they didn't know how to act in church. They'd never been taught. They'd never been trained. And I've known the folks who would complain about the kids talking in church, complain about the rambunctious kids. That happens plenty. But they're forgetting they need to be trained. They need to be cared for and raised up in the way that things are done. Ephesians chapter 6, going to read quick through verse 1 through 4 here. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor thy father and thy mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on earth. Going to pause there. Ephesians chapter 6 is Paul addressing how Christians are supposed to conduct themselves in their family, in society, in relation with other people. And he's addressing the children and saying, honor thy father and the mother. And then he gets to fathers. Verse 4, and ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. He takes particular attention to say, do not provoke them to wrath, bring them up in nurture and admonition. Yes, there is a time for discipline. There is Proverbs 13, verse 24, where it says, he who spareth his rod hateth his son. There is time for discipline. There is a time for correction. But at the heart of it is nurture and admonition. Children aren't born knowing how to behave themselves. They don't know what's expected of them. They don't have that knowledge. They don't have that wisdom. And it's our job as the adults in their life to teach and train them up into what they're supposed to be. That's why we bring them here. That's why we're supposed to be examples of all of this at home. Oftentimes, the good stories you hear from children who had religious parents are the ones who got up in the morning, saw their parents praying at the kitchen table. reading their Bible at the kitchen table. It was not a big show. They got up early in the morning and they found their parent there meeting with Jesus in the morning, having their own time. And they saw that, and that's when they see that it's important. They don't see that it's important when you're yelling at them out the door, yelling at them to get out the door because it's important to be at church. They see it when they see you pray. They see it when they see you reading the Bible. They see it when they see you talking to your pastor with a smile on your face. Because for all of the words that you speak, your actions speak all the louder. They see what you do more than they hear what you say. So when you are showing up to church on Sunday morning because you enjoy it and because it gives you something good in your life, they see that and they see, my dad, my mom, they're getting something good from this place. They're getting something from here that's making them a better person. I want that too. I want to be like mom and dad. That's what they see and that's what they want to do. That is raising up and nurture. That is particularly what is raising up and nurture. Nurture is giving them what they need to succeed and to grow. It's that providing for them. You provide the example, you provide the opportunity, you provide the space, and they grow into what they're meant to be. The admonition, I looked up the definition of admonition just to have this straight for this lesson, and it is friendly reproof. It is not yelling, it is not the rod, it is, hey, you're speaking now, pastor's praying, it's time to be quiet. It's that training up, that gentle encouraging to stay on the right path in the right direction. Now, yes, there comes a time when it happens again and again and again. There's correction, but it is supposed to start with nurture and admonition, providing what is needed and correcting the direction that it's going. And they need that because they don't have that anywhere. They don't have that within themselves from the start. Many of these children, I'm back to the bus kids again, they don't have that anywhere else. They're left to their own devices to raise themselves, and they don't know how to behave themselves. But if you take those bus kids and you give them just a little bit of attention, a little bit of time, you will see them turn around and brighten up because they are getting shown the love and attention they don't have anywhere else. So, I'm going to end a little bit early here. I want you to, I hope, understand my point here. It is not just when you order them out the door to make it to church on Sunday morning. It is not just that moment that makes all the difference in their lives. It is instances of Mr. McMillan saying, Romans 1:20 is important and it will show you truth in this life. Over and over, consistently, class by class. It is Lucy Bowl showing up to pick up a group of rambunctious kids Sunday after Sunday after Sunday. It is Brother Rick meeting kids every single Sunday with a smile and a piece of candy because he wants them to feel loved and accepted and cared for here. And they come back and they get to know Jesus and they see the love we have for him and the spiritual truth we get here, and they see that, they grow up in it, and that's what gets them to stay. I'm going to touch back just a moment on the idea from Matthew 18 where he's talking about those who offend the little children. There is that fairly large percentage of children who grow up in church, and once they're adults, they never come back. Those are often the offended ones. I don't know, I'm sure that many of you have these stories of relationships with these sorts of people. I do. I have met many people that, especially down south, they grew up in church, they were raised in church, and now they have nothing to do with it. We get into conversations about why. These are people that I consider dear friends, that I care for deeply. And I want them I want them to know Jesus. I want them to come to church. I want them to have that spiritual truth in their lives. And I ask them, why won't you accept this? We get into those conversations, and it is, this person hurt me when I was a child. It is, I tried to do what was right, and they told me to just, they were hurt. I'm just going to leave it at that. I know people, they went to church, they went to find something good, and they were hurt for it. And then they grow up, and they don't come back. So the relationship you have with these children matters. Bringing them in here every Sunday consistently and having the attitude that this is a good place, this is where we need to be, we get something good here, that has an impact on their life. Meeting them here with a smile has an impact on their life. Showing them love and care day by day by day in this place has the greatest impact on their life. So as you interact with these children, as you wonder, is it worth it to bring children here Sunday after Sunday after Sunday? Because it's trouble. We got two that we got to get up and get dressed. It's trouble to get kids up and out of bed, and they're screaming and they're crying, and you got to get them dressed and get them to church. It matters, and it's worth it. And don't forget that. Because you're laying the foundation for them to have something good and solid to stand on in their life. Brother Rick, if you wouldn't mind to close us in prayer, we'll call it good there.